Alright guys, to another video. And him being overrated. Yeah, I had to just like sit back and collect my thoughts about the whole situation. So I've come to a conclusion that actually it's quite the opposite. Jaron Ennis is underrated, and I'll give you my reasons for him being underrated. Reason number one, a lot of the boxing outlets, especially the I want to say the old media, don't acknowledge the professionalism that he carries. You know, you would think that someone with so much potential, so much upside, would be out there maybe doing dumb stuff, and you know how they say like kids will be kids. You know how they say that, but he's conducted himself as a constant professional with a very high work ethic that I haven't seen since Floyd Mayweather, who was always working, you know, despite his out of like the ring problems. He was always working, you know, he was always like doing work, always focused, always on his P's and Q's, never one to miss weight or anything like that, always on his job. The same thing is the same thing could be said about Boots, you know what I mean? And so that's what I think is underrated about him, is his professionalism and his work rate, you know. Number two, I think was underrated about him is his humility, because you would think that like such a fighter who has like, you know what I mean, has all the boxes checked off: footwork, speed, different punch combination, power, quickness, switch hitting, being able to switch stats, and ring IQ, being able to set up shots, being able to counter punch, being able to Philly shell, being able to do so many things. You would think someone like that would, you know, you would think that would get to his head. All the tools that he had, you know, you would think that it would like actually, he would take that for granted and will actually I want to say use that as a means to slack off. But it's not a means to slack off. He's still on the job, you know. Another reason why I think he's underrated too is the fashion in which he's finishing off these guys. You know, for example, we had him fight what's his name? Sergio Lipinets, who never been stopped before. And you know, Sergio Lipinets, he stopped Lamont Peterson. But I mean, many can argue that which we'll call it, softened him up for Sergio Lipinets. Many can argue that Errol Spence softened him up for Sergio Lipinets. I mean, he put a beating on him. I mean, you saw Lamont Peterson's face, and I'm like, dang, this dude like really beat him up badly. And the crazy thing is, they were friends too. You know, I may rewatch that fight. I remember that fight. Yeah, I mean, because when you look at that fight, Earl Spence was just boxing most of the fight. You know, but anyhow, um, also, uh, he didn't get a chance to blast Chris Van Heerden out of the water, right? Because I believe that in order to avoid the inevitable from happening, Chris Van Heerden threw that headbutt. You even heard Jaron Ennis when he got hit with the head. He was like, damn. You know, you heard him say that. But you saw that Jaron Ennis was like, he basically was a piranha, or I should say a barracuda, like about to bite a chunk off of that man. Because you know what's crazy about the whole thing is that Chris Van Heerden said that Jaron Ennis actually hit harder than Earl Spence Jr. So he was probably just like, no more, no mas. Let me find an escape route, and that escape route was a headbutt, right? Now many will argue like these aren't like marquee opponents, you know. But then again, you have to ask yourself, what marquee opponents want to fight Jaron Ennis? I remember talking to Steven Espinosa at the I want to say the Tank and Rolly build up, which we thought was going to happen, but it didn't happen. You know, now it's back on again, thanks to Rolly being exonerated from any wrongdoing, basically. Now, you know, Steven Espinosa was like, it's very hard to get fights for Jaron Ennis. He said he named me 3 fighters that it was very difficult to get fights for. He named me 3. He said Jaron Ennis, David Morrell, and Erickson Lubin. He said it's very difficult to pin down fights for those 3 guys. Okay. So with that being said, it was a matter of like fight who he can get. He basically told me, this is what he told me. It was basically a matter of trying to get people in there with Jaron Ennis in order and what those people would take, because those people who they wanted for him to fight, you know, like they kind of saw the inevitable, and they really wanted to get paid, aka cash out on the fight. Bozy Ennis, shout out to him, has said that, you know, that Uga said he'll fight Boots later when they try to get that fight. You know what I mean? There was this cap that Jaron Ennis ducked Maurice Hooker, but that was cap. You know, someone in a boxing room I was in a boxing live chat I was in, you know, they kind of made up some cap, and you know, that's cool. I mean, whatever floats their boat. But yeah, you know, that's basically what happened at the time. So, those are a couple of things which I feel that makes Jaron Ennis underrated. Now, another thing that makes Jaron Ennis underrated is that the fact that nobody is in a hurry to fight him, you know. So I guess people are just writing him off as just this hype job when he's been firing on all cylinders with every given guy that they put him in there with. So my thing is this for Sean Porter. You know, Sean Porter, I think he fought this guy. I think his name, he was a German guy. He was a guy named Sebastian Formella. So if Boots was overrated to Sean Porter, why didn't Sean Porter fight Boots instead of a virtually unknown Formella? And if a Sean Porter and Boots fight was made, that could have been a potential pay-per-view fight, that real split. Or you could have did a pay-per-view with another headliner, a headlining fight. But those are just my thoughts on it. Jaron Ennis is actually underrated. He's not overrated. You know what I mean? So with that being said, let's see, and I'm going to end on this note. Let's see who wants to fight Jaron Ennis first out of the people who don't have fights scheduled. Keith Thurman, who said that he didn't know who Jaron Ennis was, or Terrence Crawford. Jaron Ennis has said that he would knock out Keith Thurman and then he would know who he was. Terrence Crawford, he's pretty much been given to crickets when it comes to Jaron Ennis. As a matter of fact, he wants to help, another up-and-coming fighter, Keyshawn Johnson, develop, right? But, I mean, he definitely not in no hurry to fight no Boots, though. Let's just be honest with ourselves, But with that being said, leave your thoughts, leave your comments, and I'll be back with another one. Who is signing out? I'm Jaron.